Hey kitties, and welcome back to Caillou Goes to Jail. I'm sure you've been missing this series. It's pretty dank, pretty sick, pretty spooky. And this one is called Table Manners with Caillou. So let's get into this. But by the way, I would like to say, I would like to read out the intro here, as in like the description of the story. Fed up with his son's behavior, a furious daddy finally calls the cops on Caillou. It's a multi-chapter story for Caillou haters only. Rated T for language, violence, and a brief rape scene. And also the biggest tantrum you've ever seen from this bald-headed brat. So I'm guessing the author, who's actually been in one of my previous videos about this, doesn't exactly like Caillou, and I can't say that I do either, because his voice makes me wanna kill myself. So, let's begin. Caillou wasn't happy that a dog had eaten his lasagna. "Mommy," Caillou asked in his babyish accent, "can I have some more?" Caillou's mom prayed she had simply misheard the child. There was no more lasagna, and if she told Caillou that, he might throw a giant tantrum. She was unsure of what to do, and stood there for about 5 seconds before remembering something. "Caillou," she said with a foul smile on her face, "we don't have lasagna. We have something even better for your body than noodles with artery-clogging tomato sauce and mozzarella and Parmesan cheese." She screamed the last part for no apparent reason, but to put emphasis on how unhealthy the delicious dinner meal she reluctantly prepared to bloat up the entire family was. However, all Caillou heard was the first part of her somewhat sarcastic sentence. No lasagna!" he shouted in disbelief, eyes widening and filling with tears. "Wah!" he bawled, throwing himself to the floor and pounding his fists. The thing is, like, I can picture this perfectly because it happened in the show, like, on multiple occasions, because I watched it as a kid, and it's like ingrained into my psyche now, and I think that's why I grew up to be such a failure. Yeah. Anyways, Caillou's daddy scooped him up off the floor and set him back in his chair. "Oh, Caillou, listen. Mommy's making you better than lasagna, so be happy about it, okay? You little brat," he snarled, donning a ridiculously humongous grin before wrapping both his hands around his neck. "Now shut up or I'll slit." Oh shit, okay, we're getting in here. We're getting in here now. It was then that he realized that he had let his stressed anger get the best of him again. He quickly made a last-second word swap. I mean, you won't get any dessert," he finished. Caillou sniffled and wiped his eyes. He did love dessert, and he was looking forward to the strawberry cheesecake night after he finished his supper. Of course, it was low-fat and almost tasteless due to the lack of sugar. Did he care? No. Since he was dumb enough to think that there was something better than lasagna coming his way, of course he was a big enough schmuck. Freaking Christ, it's so fun. It's so hilariously worded. He was such a big schmuck to not to notice the taste of the cheesecake. However, if Caillou wasn't a stupid bald-headed kid, well, let's just say Mommy would be a dead motherfucker after dessert. Guaranteed. It's freaking fanfiction. It's so... I can't handle these. Or, like, if you know Bren Daniel reads, like, he reads these as well, but, like, he can, like, keep a straight face through the most ridiculous scenes. I'm not like that. These just freaking break me. Alright, let's continue. Caillou's mommy took his plate of vegetables he refused to come downstairs for earlier out of the fridge, and put some butter substitute on them. "Good thing I remembered this," she said, putting them in the microwave for 1 minute and 30 seconds. "Rosie, no juice!" Rosie threw her juice off the tray of her high chair. The training cup opened on impact with the floor and spilled everywhere. It's just like the oddly technical way everything is explained. It meshes so well with like the comedy here. It's so good. I love it. You gotta read it for yourself. "Oh no, Rosie," moaned Mommy. The microwave beeped. "Boris, will you check this microwave while I clean up Rosie's mess?" By the way, Boris is the name of the dad. So there's that. It's a kind of weird name. Kind of weird. Whatever. Daddy opened the microwave and upon seeing what was inside, almost threw up. If Caillou saw what Mommy fixed him for his dinner, there would be no knowing how the child would react. It was then that Gilbert strutted in a top hat and tuxedo. 5, 6, 7, and 8, he mouthed, before breaking out into bizarre tap dance routine. Daddy grabbed Daddy grabbed a machine gun out of nowhere and shot the tabby 9 times in the heart, causing him to fly backwards out of the doorway. It's like a Gmod, slamming into the hall wall. Can't you see I'm trying to worry about dinner? He shouted angrily. Gilbert didn't respond. Gilbert? Tears began to form in the corners of his eyes, but he snapped out of it. Whatever. That was still Dad. I thought it was Caillou for a second, but whatever. Whatever. I can't give this to Caillou. He's going to throw one of his trademark fits. I know it. No, I'm not going to lie to him anymore. I'm going to tell him the truth. And no matter what happens, I'll keep my cool. He took a deep breath. Here goes. All right, Caillou, Daddy sighed, placing Caillou's plate onto the table. Dinner. Caillou was shocked when he saw what was on the plate. It was a vegetable medley of broccoli, cauliflower, and carrots, with a special new ingredient added just for Caillou. Bean sprouts. The little boy gasped. Daddy! No! Not vegetables! No wine, Caillou! Rosie suddenly got out of her high chair and kicked Caillou in the... Rosie suddenly got out of her high chair and kicked Caillou in the nuts. Fire exploded in his groin area, and Caillou let out a scream, grabbing hold of his testes. Caillou wasn't sure what to say when Rosie kicked him in the junk and told him to quit whining, said the off-screen grandma narrator. Alright, whoever's making that effect, I'm gonna kill him! Daddy shook his fist furiously. Caillou, eat your vegetables, Mommy said in response to Caillou's whining, still with a sugar-coated, cheerful voice. They're good for you. They'll make you strong like your 134-pound father. Excuse me, I weigh 221 pounds, intervened Daddy, and 6 ounces. Mommy was even more shocked than Caillou. Go to hell! She screamed in reply. Overweight gluttons do not go to heaven. Well, ugly dogs don't get in either. You need to get off your frumpy ass sometimes. Make the iron your friend. All my friends brag about their fun wives. Now, I could have married Melissa, but no. I got stuck with you, my pig, cow, ugly, stupid wife, who, by the way, has even less hair than our son. Caillou's mom was flabbergasted. Here's a knife. Go cut up Rosie's lasagna for her, and don't stick it up your ass like you did last time. She threw a knife at Daddy's face. I want a divorce! Well, fine. Gosh. I want a divorce! Well, fine. If that's what you get for doing the mail lady and that neighbor of ours, Mr. Hinkle, yesterday. We're going to court tomorrow. Mommy, I don't want to eat my vegetables, whined Caillou all over the commotion. Caillou's parents stopped arguing long enough to remember their son. Sweetie? We're getting a divorce, Caillou's mommy stated sadly. What's a divorce? Stated Caillou. It's a divorce. Are you stupid and deaf like your mother? Anyways, a divorce is when your dad screws the mail carrier and the neighbor, exclaimed Mom said that. I keep getting these mixed up, like it's not specific enough to know, especially when it's not like tagged on the ending of sentences. It's really hard to say, but whatever. Whatever. Well, what am I supposed to do when what am I supposed to do when you look like a cow? Yelled Daddy. Mommy facepalmed. Caillou, are you going to eat your vegetables? I don't want to eat my vegetables! Caillou's parents decided to keep their cool about the situation, and sat with him at the table. Caillou, you've had this problem before and dealt with it. Mommy again, okay. Caillou, you've had this problem before and dealt with it. Remember? Remember? Those veggies are berries in the eyes of bears, continued Daddy. Liars! Hollered Caillou. They don't look like berries! I was only 3 back then. I didn't know any better. Caillou, please try them, begged Mommy, slowly losing her patience. They have butter substitute on them, she added in a sing-song voice. No, I can't! Why not? Daddy inquired, his temper gradually rising. Because I hate vegetables! I want cheesecake! He put his fist down the table, almost causing the apple juice to spill. Caillou, please be polite at the table and be a role model for your sister, reminded Mommy angrily and happily at the same time. I don't want to be polite, Caillou growled. Caillou's parents finally boiled over. Eat them! They shouted in unison. Caillou exploded, raising his finger as if making a speech. No! I want to have cheesecake! Grrr! Caillou, eat them or I'll stab your brain out! Daddy tackled Caillou to the ground, putting him in a headlock. Caillou pulled away and crossed his arms. He let out a half grunt, half whine. Ah! What's the matter, Caillou? Afraid to die a quick, painless death? Screamed Daddy, cracking his knuckles. I hate vegetables! The implied cancer patient got his plate of vegetables off the table and threw it to the floor, shattering it. He then threw himself to the ground as well, kicking his feet and pounding his fists. He screeched so loudly that the dead at the local cemetery arose from what was supposed to be their eternal slumber. Caillou, warned Mommy, I'm going to count to 3. Caillou got up and began running into the kitchen cabinet over and over until his face Wait, what? Caillou got up and began running into the kitchen cabinet over and over again until his face bled. Okay. He then knocked everything off the counter, made a mess of the table, and began to toss things out of the pantry. Rosie burst into tears, unsure of what the heck was going on. That's it, Caillou! Said Daddy, getting Caillou's attention. Go to your room! No cheesecake for you! Fuck you, Daddy! Caillou replied suddenly. Daddy was horrified. Where did you learn that word? He demanded. Rosie says it all the time, answered Caillou. That's no excuse, said Mommy, enraged. Rosie's just learning to pronounce words and make them into sentences. Your speech is pretty advanced for your age, Caillou. By 2 3/4, you were talking in clear, complete sentences with little to no babble in your voice whatsoever. Just because Rosie mispronounces truck doesn't mean you get to copy her. Now, come, get your spanking. Daddy forced Caillou's pants down and carried him to Mommy, him kicking and squirming all the while. Caillou was set down on Mommy's lap, butt in the air, and she began to mercilessly spank him with a belt. Smack. Okay, I'll just do the smacks with my my leg. There. Your voice is like Chinese water torture! Mommy yelled in between the spankings. You're the reason we're getting a divorce! Sobbed Caillou. Caillou was both shocked and frightened. When he finally got the spanking he so richly deserved, said the irritating grandma narrator lady. Drah! Daddy screamed, pulling his hair out. When Mommy was done with Caillou, his rear end was soaked... his rear end was soaked in blood. Time to go to your room, Caillou, Daddy shouted in rage. He picked up Caillou and began to carry him out of the room. Of course, he had trouble. Caillou kicked, squirmed, and spat in Daddy's arms as he tried to get away. No! 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 He protested, but Daddy shoved his fists in his mouth to keep him quiet. Shut up, you little brat! Daddy threw Caillou into his room and slammed the door. Good night! Caillou began to cry harder than he'd ever cried before in his life. He clawed at the door, but Daddy ignored him, and went back downstairs to sit at the kitchen table to try and relax with a bottle of wine. Daddy had never been this angry before. At the table, he contemplated what to do with Caillou. At first, he thought about going into the room and shooting him in the head while he was asleep. He also thought about going back in time and getting Doris to have that abortion. However, he dismissed those ideas when he thought of a much better punishment. Yes, Daddy was going to call the cops on Caillou. In the next chapter, Caillou gets arrested. So yeah, that's Caillou Goes to Jail, Chapter 3, and it gave me a headache just reading it. And it's probably really messy and awful, but, you know, yeah. That's a 13-minute chapter. It's not bad. Alright. See you in the next crappy video. Bye.